Hello, Barry.
Hello, Sam. He's in the kitchen ready for breakfast.
This is actually not my kitchen.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No, if I look behind me,
Oh,
I see two.
okay.
You see
That
two
clear.
back to back, right?
Yeah, okay.
So this is an odd table. It's actually quite a bit higher than a standard table. So I had to get the what do you call those, bar chairs or bar stools?
Yeah, bar stools, yeah.
Yeah, so I got one over there, one over there. So that's my Windows machine. That's one of my Linux machines.
Oh, did you get your Linux machine to boot finally?
Yes,
When
it
it
did. It
failed?
was stupid. The power cable was loose. That's all it was.
Step number one, make sure the power cable's plugged in securely on both ends.
Step one in diagnosis, I stopped at step one because it worked. Okay.
Right, exactly. You always find things in the last place you look.
That's right. Unless you're really, really
Unless you're blind.
not following the playbook and you misinterpret the data.
How many times have you looked right where something is and didn't see it?
That's life.
That's commonplace. You looked right where it is and you didn't see it.
Well, that's why you have to come back again and see it with
Right.
different eyes.
Yeah. It's very strange how the senses sometimes fail to detect something that's actually present.
Is it the senses or is it the brain?
Well, I'm sort of using them as a system, upgraded system.
So anyway,
you guys just reminded me back in 84, 85, I started selling computers.
Yeah.
Could you believe that? It's like, oh, the computer is not working, blank screen. Okay, what happened? Okay. 2 hours later, find out that somebody unplugged the power cord from the wall.
Turned off the power strip.
Turned on power
The power strip is there, but you don't realize it has a nearly invisible toggle, and the little light that should be lit ain't lit.
Yeah. The funniest of all, I always remember to the day I die, would be the one that as soon as I reach home, I got a call. The computer stopped working. Say, what happened, Richard? I don't know. I was going through the DOS tutorial book nicely, starting from A to Z. That's what my plan was, and all of a sudden the computer doesn't come on anymore. It's like, what happened? I thought about it, like, okay, are you at F? Yeah, yes, I'm at F. Did you happen to be doing the format?
Oh, there you go. Right.
That's good. Now,
Halt and catch fire. Remember the assembly language codes? Halt and catch fire.
Boy, I tell you.
There was a whole set of funky, silly assembly language codes.
Made up ones.
Was one of them. This is all the way back in the IBM days when actually you had assembly languages, the salient language to look at.
I actually know some of them, so I was trying to think about it. Well, it's what is it? It's a common myth. But did it ever happen to you? If somebody calls up and says, "Hey, the coffee holder doesn't work anymore."
Coffee holder?
Yeah.
That's hard to translate into a visual image.
Did that ever happen to you, Sam?
Say again?
The coffee holder doesn't work anymore.
Coffee holder doesn't work anymore because there's another coffee cup already in there.
No, it's because the CD tray retracted. So
Oh.
using it as a coffee mug.
The CD tray was the coffee holder. Oh, jeez. Yeah. No, I didn't visualize that.
Anyway, that's been a standard joke, but I don't know that it's ever happened.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of a joke is that you can't envision the scenario that fits the description, the narrative.
A surprise ending is what I call.
Yeah, O. Henry.
The twist.
The famous O. Henry.
Well, this is the first time I just want to give myself a pat on the back. But I turned on AI Companion before Sam reminded me. Okay.
Yeah, because before Sam connected, right?
But you forgot to do the summary. And you just did.
Hey.
After I got on.
There's no summary to do. We haven't talked yet.
Yeah. You
That's an
sent the
extra.
summary yesterday. I couldn't see the email. Let's see
I
here.
did. I sent your to your samapplied@gmail.com.
Got
I
it.
sent it like seconds after you told me the
Yeah, I thought you did. Yeah, let's see.
no.
Mm.
Check to make sure it's not in spam.
Is it in your junk folder?
That kind of thing could easily end up in spam, occurs to me.
No, I mean you probably have my email. Hopefully you've unspam unjunked my email.
Well, I'm not sure if the spam filter unflags it if it recognizes the sender.
Is it really that hard to find?
I don't have it.
Are you looking for the subject or are you looking for my email address?
I'm looking for everything I can find. I'm scanning for my subfolders.
Okay, look for my email. It's s@mhan.com.
You have like 3 of them, don't you?
Yes, and that's my second best email.
See, that's the problem is if you got 3 email addresses, I don't know which one to.
But I just have to say for the record, do you know what my best email is? What I only use for a few people?
Not off the top of my head. I
Because
guess
my
I
second best is s@mhan.com. What is my best?
Yeah, I don't have it.
I'd have to go look for all of them and then try to pick it, but I don't know off the top of my head.
It's
Did you
s@mha.hn.
MA.HN.
No, yes,
Say it again.
mha.hn.
M. I have to see it in print. I'm not processing from oral.
Okay. Anyway, Sam, let me look through my delivery folders because I'm pretty sure I sent.
Look for your scent. Your odorous scent.
I don't have it.
If you are on Gmail, it should be in your sent folder.
Sent items.
I don't know what it's called in other systems.
You have to go to inbox and then go to send. That's what the Gmail you need to do. Yeah, I don't have it in my Gmail, not at all. Social, maybe.
But you didn't get a bounce either, so it's not that you missed.
I'm looking for November 25th updates.
I'm logging into my email now. By the way, I do have a question to ask, but while we're doing this, I'm going to do stay focused. Okay, I'm going to go to sent items.
So it's Sam at so s@mhan.com, right?
s@mhan.com. Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
I searched it. There's nothing.
I'm looking here and it's not in my sent item, so I suspect it actually failed to send.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's your
Yeah.
fault, not mine.
Yeah. But I did it right when you said. Now maybe that was that right when my machine died. Oh, by the way, I went back to that set of Zoom files and I could not get them to produce a .mp4. So I only have the second part of yesterday, unfortunately. I'm willing to give you those Zoom files if you think you can fix that, but
Everything is possible. It's
Yep.
just how much time you want to spend on it.
yeah. Okay, so let me see. Okay, meeting summary, AI companion. Here we go. To Sam applied
Yeah,
at gmail.com.
you got it.
Barry, you want it also?
Oh, you can send it to me. I think I didn't. I already see it in the chat yesterday.
No, it's not.
No,
It's
no, no.
just
It's,
only the
chat.
only the host has it. Yeah. It's pretty complete. I'm very impressed with the
yeah, it's quite
performance.
detailed. Yeah. Okay. And what, Barry, what is yours?
Barry.court@gmail.com. Unforgettable.
Unless I forget the dot.
You don't need the dot. Dots are arbitrary, ignored. You can add them and leave them out.
Oh, that explains something. That does explain something. I never checked that myself previously. Okay, the first one is off to you now. That's the 19th. So now I'm going to send the, yeah, I'll send the summary for the 18th. Oh, here's the one for the 25th. It showed up. Okay, let's see. I want to send the 18th. Did you get that one, by the way?
Who are you asking?
Both of you. I just
Oh.
sent the one for the 19th.
I'm looking for it right now. I was just busy looking at your send you the corrupted, how to repair the corrupted file.
Okay. Okay, that's the 19th. What is
I don't
it?
have it.
I have to go check. Takes me a second to check it.
This is the 25th. Okay, I'll go ahead and send the one on for the 25th. Forward.
Okay, Gmail.
Barry. I have to add these to my address. This is my new laptop, by the way. I got a Dell 64 gig laptop.
Wow.
When my previous one disappeared somewhere in India.
Wow.
And since I'm Asian,
64
I have to
gig,
say,
huh?
guess how much? Guess how much?
64 gig on the Dell.
Precision 7550, and it's got a 1 terabyte SSD.
About 5G.
Not even close.
Not very close.
And by the way, it's brand new on Amazon.
Wow.
Less
Well,
than $1,300.
wow, that's a good deal. What's the CPU? i9,
It's an i7.
i7. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Full warranty.
Yeah, brand new.
That's a heck of a deal.
That's why I got it.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm thinking about getting a second one so I can put Linux on that second one. This one is still running Windows.
What's called that?
What's the what?
What's the size of the resolution on the screen? Yeah, that's the most
4K. That's 4K screen.
no touch screen, right? No touch screen,
Let's
right?
see, does it touch? Does it touch? No, no touch screen.
Okay, 4K screen is very good. For a price, it's heck of a deal.
Yep. I love the 4K screen. Okay, now I'm forwarding the one for the 18th. You should have gotten the 19th and the 25th.
I still don't have it.
Oh, come on. Oh,
You see the same.
I think I know what the problem is.
What?
Oh, this pisses me off. There's a problem I just noticed where my custom domains are being rejected by Gmail because they're not on some safe sender domain list or something like that. They think it's a blacklisted domain. So I got to go talk to my
Okay, I'll give you a different email.
no. I have other emails, so I can't send it. But if you have another email, yeah, gee,
Let me give you another email.
This problem. Sorry. All right. Let me go. Let me send it to your other email for now.
Okay, I'm gonna chat, put it in the chat for you.
Okay. Right, let me go look for it. Yeah, Gmail is the only mail system that rejects my custom domains.
Okay,
Happens to my brothers too.
okay.
Okay. Let's see here. Sam at Applied Computer. Okay, here we go.
With the dash in between.
Yeah. Barry, do you have another one or is it still gonna
No,
bounce?
I got 20 more. Don't worry.
What are you
Um,
asking me?
Yeah, I'm just thinking Barry. Do you have a non-Gmail account?
I do.
No, basically, you send it to me. I can forward it to Barry.
I'd have to go back and double check because I don't have the other ones memorized. Everything that, oh yeah, I know. The other one I have is Media Lab. Yeah. So I have bkort, BKORT at media.mit.edu. It all forwards to Gmail. So that's why I don't bother to remember them.
I was still typing Sam's. So can you say that one more time? Sorry about that.
BKORT at media.mit.edu.
Okay, got that. Got it.
It's cold this morning. Very cold. 40-degree here.
Yeah, it's cold here too.
You got you got your satellite dish on top of the roof yet, Josh?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't see the he aimed his camera at it a couple of days ago, last, I don't know, week ago or yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, he'll turn his camera at the roof and you'll see it.
Okay.
He did that.
So
Whatever
that's why you're getting all the good reception.
whatever previous occasion it was, he
No,
gave
you're
us.
normal human being. You join the club.
Normal. Not normal like you guys trying to send an email for 15 minutes.
This is a real problem with my domains. It just happened because Gmail, GoDaddy just changed their mail service provider. They were doing it
It
themselves.
it happens, Sam. Don't worry about it.
And they switched to Office 365 / live or whatever it is. So
They're just trying to protect us from you.
that's what they're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I have
you're the good one.
I have 3 incomings from Sam Hahn, 11:15, 11:15, 11:17.
Wait, did you get them all?
I have 3 of them. I haven't looked. I just am looking at the headers right now. I have 3 headers.
So they went through.
Well, 3
I
of
got
them.
it now. Yeah,
I have 3 of them, so whatever they are.
Anyway, so I'll save time. I'll send the other ones later. Okay. But anyway, now I got something to.
You guys could just share a Dropbox or something. That would be so much easier. Especially since you meet every week.
2 looks like they're from the same address. Let me see, is that right? Capital S at mhan.com.
Yes.
Capital S at mhan. So the first 2 are from the same address. And
Mhm.
well, they're all from the same address.
Yes.
They're all from s at mhan.com.
Yes. Now, can you read them?
Oh, that's the next question. So I have to open them.
Yes.
I read them. The only problem I see that it has Sam in it, but without last name, I have no idea which Sam we're talking about.
Yeah, they're all, well, yeah, they're all readable.
But
Okay.
you see, what
is that
but
an
yeah, the
image?
quick
Yes.
recap, Sam and Barry's, blah blah blah. So it doesn't have a last name on it. So that's no good.
Yeah, they're all identical. Well, at least the contents, the readable contents all look the same to me.
No, they should have different dates.
Well, yeah, so November 19th. Wait a minute, sent Sunday, November 19th. Oh, that's your forwarding, that's why. That's the original. November 26th at 11:15.
That's now.
I got an 18, I got a 20.
Well, yeah, it doesn't have the nearest second. So 2 of them say 11:15 and don't give you any seconds. And then the last one is 11:17. So 2 of them say 11:15. They don't give you to the nearest second. They only give you to the nearest minute.
It doesn't matter because that's the forward time. What you really want is the time of the message that I did forward you. So I sent it. My
Oh, I
attachment was pretty
see.
easy.
So one is November 18th.
Yeah.
And
what is the 19th?
one
and what is the
is
20th?
November 25th.
Yeah.
And one is
18.
November 19th.
Yeah.
So 18, 19, and 25. Yeah, they're all three from a different original date. But they look identical other than that.
Okay. All right. So, since Josh is tired of us talking about emails, I have a question for you guys if you want to hear it.
Go for it.
What does this following statement mean to a?
Could you type it, please, Sam?
I
It
will
would be
type
very
it. I
helpful.
will type it. I will type it, and then I will read it for the record. And it's actually not the question. It is actually a sentence, and I just want to delve into it. Seek the mystery, not the answer.
What do you want us to do with that aphorism?
Unpack it, since we're rational, critical, model-based thinkers. What does this really mean?
Seek the mystery, not
Well,
the answer.
I mean, if the answer is 42, the question is, what's the question? The answer is 42. What's the question?
See, I'm not looking for the answer.
The point is that if I tell you the answer is 42, you go, the answer to what question?
The point is, I'm not seeking for an answer.
What are you seeking? You're seeking for a mystery. The mystery is, what's the question?
And why do I ask it here?
Because that's where we are right now.
See, you're full of answers, Barry.
Well, but it's an obvious answer. Why did you ask it?
Have you met Barry Court? This is Sam Hahn, Barry Court.
I know, Barry. That's why I'm asking the question.
I mean, if you asked it where I wasn't, then I wouldn't answer it. You asked it where I was in real time. This is real time. Ken Kesey.
If you're bored by this, we can move on.
He flew over. He wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
Is that all he must be known for more than that?
Oh, he's
that's
known
what
for
I
more
know
than that.
That's what I know him for. That's what I know him, Chomsky.
But Barry, I specifically ask you as a model-based thinker, what does this mean?
What does the Ken Kesey quote mean in terms of a model-based thinker?
Yes. And why am I interested in that question here in this context?
To find out how a model-based thinker responds?
Let's dive deep into what it means to seek the mystery. I think, is that what you're saying, Sam? Let's grok it. Let's understand it.
If you adopt this perspective, what would a conversation look like?
It would look like a conversation where the two parties were not meeting, and so no response seems to correspond to the previous comment. It all seems like two people speaking into the void, and not they're speaking at each other and not with each other.
Not necessarily.
Well, that's one solution. And the reason I say that one is I just finished having that example.
Josh has his hand up.
Thank you. I think if you've gotten to know Barry, then it's the exact opposite of how his brain works. He does not seek the mystery, he seeks the answer, which is why you're posing the question in the first place, which is going to piss off Barry because he's trying to think of the answer, not the mystery. So in other words, it's kind of like what Sam Chan just talked about his son going into the file format book of DOS. You just put a little loop in the system that turns off the computer.
Maybe. I'm going to take offense.
Maybe not. No. I'm just saying.
I'm just going to say I'm not trying to piss off Barry. That's certainly my last intent. Okay. I've seen Barry pissed off. I don't want to see Barry pissed off.
Thank you. I don't want to see Barry pissed off either.
But it is particularly interesting in the context of the way I interact with Barry. So that's why I asked the question.
Okay. I'm just stating that from the get-go, Barry. Well, we've all been warned, and now let's I would like to dive deep into this. I like the question or the statement. So it's to me, it's like playing with my daughter. It's oh, what happened? It's a mystery, and you make a mystery out of it, and we got to go seek that mystery. Where's the mystery? So we're looking. So I was singing to her a song called "We're Looking for the Mystery," and we went around the house looking for the mystery of where something went to, or where something is. Not the answer, but the mystery. We were seeking the mystery.
Actually, Barry does what basically this is basically focus on the journey. Don't focus on the destination. It's the way I'm thinking about it. Okay, so screw the destination. Just focus on journey, right? So life is a journey. It's never a destination, right? So Barry does that, but the thing is, you need to listen carefully with Barry. He give you the logic behind it after he give you the answer, but he got it down. He got it, the journey down. He got it like he's almost like a train track, so to speak. It's precision, logical. He got it down
Almost like a what?
like a train track.
Train track.
Yeah, it's like
Well, I'm an engineer.
pre-programmed.
What do you want? That's what engineers are always on train track.
It's-
Well, you've said this hundreds of times. You're in a constant state of mystery, aka vexed and perplexed.
Yeah, right.
I have another take on this.
Go for it.
Okay, so it's not a stretch here for us to let's suppose that we're all model-based thinkers. Okay,
We're not.
but
Most people aren't.
let's suppose that we take it almost as a given that my model's probably a little different than your model.
That's a very strong given. I mean, I said that the backwards. It's a very likely given.
Yeah. So when a conversation happens and a question is posed, the question actually reveals much about the model in the poser of the question. It may not make sense to the recipient of the question because the words, the concepts, the memes in the question may not map to a model in the recipient, or it could. Or the words could be so general that what it maps to in me is you have a mapping, but it's different. So to me, there's an aspect of this mystery, which is how can I discern more about your model when I hear your response? And how might you discern about my model when you hear my question? Over.
Well, you might be able to determine that they're dissimilar, which is very likely. That doesn't mean you can determine the delta.
But you got the question, right?
Sort of. Like,
Right. So lean into
our
that question. Is there
do
mystery
our
in
models
that
differ?
question?
And if so,
Is
how
there
do they?
mystery in that question?
Well, the mystery is how they differ.
I know Josh has his hand up for 2 minutes already.
All right, we'll let him answer.
No, that's okay. You just brought my brain back to when you said the models. For one, I'm not a model-based thinker. I'm a systems thinker, which I take as a different thing. And then I was trying to say, how would I explain why I think that's different? And it's when I was first learning HTML and I came across a thing called active server pages. So dynamically grabbing something and querying in multiple ways to create a dynamic model. So if anything, I would be a dynamic model thinker where the model is not static, thus it can never be the same as yours because it's constantly changing. Does that make sense? The model is a
does.
moldable, it's
does.
Play-Doh, it's soft Play-Doh model.
Right. But in a similar sense, I'm not talking about document object models, obviously. Okay. I'm talking about mental object models. And so I get your analogy about the web pages. I get it. And I almost take it as a given that since we're humans and we live in temporality, that our models, if we're learning and growing, are dynamic by nature. So I take that kind of as a given, even though it wasn't spoken. But it's good to explicate. So I would agree with you, but I think that's the aspect of it that to me is a second order or third order effect. I'm actually looking at a different thing.
But as a metaphor, what do you create your model out of, metaphorically speaking? Or like literally, what do you create your model out of? If I said, here's a bunch of Play-Doh, could you create that model from your brain?
No, because it has aspects of it that Plato does not have.
Well, Play-Doh can pretty much mold into anything.
No.
Sure.
And besides, once you mold it, it is static.
But what my point being is that you can model a thing out of Play-Doh that represents another thing.
Okay. If I have a chunk of something, anything, Play-Doh or other, and I label it, yes, that could be.
You can label it with the Play-Doh itself.
Sure. But see, that to me is not about the question that I did ask, which is in the asking of a question, do you discern aspects of a model in my mental model? And I am looking, and I actually do see it quite a bit in the responses that I get. I do see much about the mental models in the responder. That I do get.
I'm saying if I asked you to recreate your mental model, what would you use to do that? A flow chart or
It's
what?
completely context sensitive, because if I'm trying to solve a web page problem, I would use a different tool than if I was trying to solve a philosophy problem, or if I was trying to solve an experimental science problem, or if I was trying to solve a human interaction problem. I would use different models, and we all have different models, or I think we do.
See, I think I've made my point, but I'm going to leave it at that. And that's the whole point, is you think that what you thought of was crystal clear and it makes perfect sense and it's labeled, but yet you show it to someone else, to Sam or to me or to someone. And then I say, well, what does this part represent so that I can understand what's in your head? And that to me is the journey. That's the mystery of taking two people's dynamic brains that are constantly firing neurons to align. That's the mystery
that
of what, and then we
is
get into
closer.
semantics of words and smart people problems.
Right. That's
And
closer
I'm
to,
complete.
for example, if I use model-based thinking and you use systems thinking, we'd have to sort of experiment and find out, do they mean different things or do they mean similar things?
Well, that's my whole point, is that if you made it out of something physical, I have to push your model of yours in your brain to actually function properly. Whether it be mathematical or like we need to see, the problem is we're talking about things without concrete examples. What are we trying to, what mystery are we trying to solve here, and lean into the mystery and not the answer? Maybe we can come up with a concrete example.
I'm trying to create one right now. Okay, at the beginnings of a model, it's very, very incomplete, but right now all the models are empty, okay? So let me show you this on my screen. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Where's my share screen button? Here we go. Share. Can I just share a window? Yes, I can. Oh, look at this. Optimize for video clip. And I'm not going to share sound. Well, it has no sound. Okay, so you see my model window.
Yep.
I see a window that's got really nothing on it yet.
You see no boxes?
I just
I
see
see 3 boxes.
Barry's brain, Josh's brain, but I don't see any content other than those 2 labels.
Okay, so Josh's brain has this thing called systems thinking. And under my brain, I'm going to put a thing called model-based reasoning. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there.
So you're adding this, or it was already there?
No, I'm just creating a model right now.
Oh, you're creating, this is all creating from scratch. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just doing it in real time, hopefully, as you can see. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say anything, because it was empty to begin with.
Okay, so now I'm going to say somewhere in Barry's brain, my model says, and oh, by the way, this is all my model, okay? So I'm just revealing my model right now. So I'm going to say this is something called systems engineering, okay? Because Barry has a degree in systems engineering.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess.
All right. So now I'm going to connect it with this thing called Stanford, okay? You got it at Stanford, okay? So now I'm going to call another box here called scientific method. Okay, so I'm going to connect the thing here. And I'm going to say there's a connection between model-based reasoning and systems engineering and systems thinking. They all have connections to the scientific method. And we can label these arcs whatever we want. I'm going to put Stanford off to the side here. Yeah, I'll put it off to the side here, okay? So these arcs are all different, but there's aspects of systems engineering, systems thinking, and model-based reasoning. Systems engineering probably the weakest of these links here. There's probably more engineering rather than science. Okay, but there's experiment design somewhere in there, so I'll leave it there. Okay, so I can build this up, right? So now it'd be interesting to see what this arc, model-based reasoning with the scientific method, or perhaps there's another arc here from model-based reasoning to systems thinking. There's certainly a relationship there. Okay, so let's take this one and this one, maybe move them down a little bit. Okay, move this one up a little bit. Okay. All right, so I can develop this model and we can ask what these arcs are and we can attach meanings to them, right? So for example, I can say on that arc, oh wait, how do I do this? Let me put a label on that arc. Okay, I'm gonna put a label called similar question mark. Is it similar? Okay. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Okay. So maybe I'll label the brains with different colors because it's I want to give semantically different meanings to different colors. So I'll call this, let's do that. Okay, so I'm trying to develop a mental model of the three of us. Sorry, let me put Sam in here at some point. Okay, Sam will probably feel excluded at the moment. So let me create a Sam Chan down here. And anyway, I don't need to go through this at length. All I'm saying is now I have revealed a little bit about my mental model, and I've used one certain representation, which is very, very primitive, and it's very, very slow to work with, okay? But each of you would probably choose a different tool and a different expression and a different way to model you. Josh would have Play-Doh, and Barry, I don't know what Barry would use, and I don't know what Sam would use. But anyway, this is a simple tool that just happens to be running in my machine, and so I can use it right now, okay? So if I were to ask a question, one of these arcs, like this similar question mark arc, that is a possible question that I could pose. In other words, what similarities does model-based reasoning have with systems thinking, right? That's an easy question to derive from this mental model. And if you look at each of these arcs, there's probably at least 4 other questions here. How does Stanford develop a degree in systems engineering, or many other questions? Each of these represents multiple different questions. Okay? So the way I think, the way I have objects in my brain, the concepts in my brain, are slightly revealed simply because this is so slow to you now, whereas before, when I was just using words, it wasn't quite so explicit. Okay. Now we could go through a similar step where each of you, Josh takes his Play-Doh out, he creates a mental model, or a model of what it is he's working on. Barry, you do the same. Maybe you do it in a scientific paper. Maybe you do it on molten lava. You do it in a blog post, etc. Okay. My writing usually comes after I draw a diagram like this. I never just really write on paper. I always start with a diagram. So anyway, I think I've belabored this point a little bit. You're probably all bored, but that's my point. Is now I have a mental model which I revealed a little bit of, and it probably didn't pre-exist. in your mental models or systems, whatever, or even systems. Maybe a model might equate a little bit to a system, right? So anyway, those are all questions that I can ask. And having this representation, maybe, I'm hoping, gives you a little bit of insight into why I ask the question. Over. Josh.
Yeah, I appreciate you making it explicitly clear. I just feel that there's a lot of ways of thinking besides the logical computer step of this relates to this is similar to this, why, what is the relationship, like a relational database, let's make the ontology, let's go down the genus, how is this connected to that. There's other ways of thinking outside of that thinking is what my point is. Go ahead.
I would grant that that's possible, but right now I think almost every system of thinking has thoughts and connections.
But that's my point, is that they don't.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. So I think about you and I can make connections to you. I can say Gail, I can say he lives in Seattle, I can make all these connections. Or I could think of you and I could feel the color that feels like Sam Hahn. And I could feel the gradient of that color change from different conversations we've had. So there's times when Sam's been totally logical, which feels like a dark blue. And then there's times where Sam has been very funny and droll and making jokes about his travels. And that's a very neon pink color. So there's a gradient between the dark blue and the neon pink. And Barry's putting up synesthesia. But I'm saying I can think of you in terms of color, and then I can map you to, whether it be, if I want to use synesthesia, I could do how it tastes or how it sounds, or I could map you to my own emotional affective state, which is how your jokes made me feel or your logic makes me feel. So it's more of a feeling-based thinking as opposed to a logic-based thinking. Does that make sense?
Sure. But to me, those are all thoughts as well. And those have association, like you say, association with blue, association with pink, that's an association as well. Gradients are associations. Feelings,
But they're
thoughts. Because
but they're
feelings
fleeting dynamic associations, meaning by the time I go to statically say what tone between blue and pink, it's fluctuating and changing dynamically. There is no stopping. Thus, it creates the mystery and never yields an actual output of a hexadecimal color. So
to me,
I'm just,
that's a detail left to future conversation.
I totally get that. Because I know your logical thinking, I know how you would answer that question. As opposed to asking, what does it smell like? Does it smell like okra? Does it smell like wontons freshly fried in a pan?
So the intersubjective experience of yours is interesting, but I would rather ask the question, so in that dynamic, color-based, feeling-based system that you described, what inference, what insight, what wisdom can you derive from that you think is not possible from a method like I just showed?
Sure. I'll bring it back to what Barry was talking about, the arc of a story. So if I'm thinking of it as a gradient and you go back to the idea that there is the worst part and the best part, and the story arc goes from the worst to the best, then I can map you two archetypes that go through a storyline. So I can narrate a story just as fast in real time. And I don't know if everyone does this. This is just how I'm just sharing how my brain works without using a map or drawing it. But I can map the arc of he's being an antagonist. He's being a protagonist. What is he asking with this logic? Where is his arc of a story of reasoning going? So are we getting to a place of symbiotic where we're all happy? Are we getting to a place of I'm creating confusion on purpose to create the mystery, so the mystery is the answer? Go ahead.
Okay. So since you know me, what I'm about to say.
Since you want me to infer what you're about to say,
Yes.
Predict.
if I would have to infer, I would say you're probably going to try to ground it into something that has 3 steps.
Thanks for playing.
That's why we're human. I'm glad I'm wrong. I don't want to be
Okay.
right.
So here's what I'm about to say. Okay. And it all stems from something. It's a mantra I've put forth many times now in these 7 years or whatever. Okay. Mathematics is a language of relationships.
Yeah.
So simple relationships like simple binary is a or as a part of or component of, those are very, very, very simple relationships. Okay. But linear correlation or formulaic correlation, like, second degree functions, third degree functions, elliptic, whatever it is, those are also relations, dynamic relations. Okay. They have temporal interestingness, because you can map them onto some space that has time in it. Okay. You can also put almost any dimension, smell, taste, feel, into any kind of representation. Okay. So you can use mathematics to describe those relationships. So I would say that the niceties of these very complex functions, which has interesting nuances that you may not get just from ISA or part of, okay, relationships, are richer when you understand more about the phenomena, and you can express it as more than just equals ISA or part of. You can actually describe a g of x or f of x, or even a multiple multivariate function. So that's what I'm trying to say is associations can be simple, they can be complex. You are indicating that you're interested in some of these dynamic spectral things. I completely get that. I do agree with you. Okay. But those are still associations, and those are still relationships that can be described and can therefore produce additional insights. So I was asking, what insights can you derive from your model that you think is not possible using the simple approach that I was at least starting to share over?
You just did the 3 things. Mathematics is a relationship, linear, nonlinear, simple or complex.
That's one way you would map it. I didn't start with any of that in my brain, okay? But that's the way you see it.
I'm just saying I've gotten to know you. You break it down into 3 steps.
But this is how I get to know you also, is you
Yeah.
map it, this way, and I don't start from that, right? So that's an interesting, I would even dare say, mystery, if we care to derive insight from that, okay? And I would rather say, okay, I understand more about the way you think because you think in terms of 3, okay? As opposed to me necessarily saying, oh, well, I know what Joss is going to say because it maps into this model of 3. So let me think about how to map it into this model of 3 before I say it. That wasn't part of my motivation.
No, I get it. I'm just saying logically, most things are a story with 3. Beginning, middle, end.
That's a tautology then, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm
But
still
what's the
asking the question.
mystery? What's the mystery?
The question is, if you say your model is how you prefer to think versus what I was trying to start with, I was asking, the question basically is, what is the power of your model? In other words, what are those inferences? What are those implications, those hypotheses, those insights, that wisdom that you can derive from your model that you think is not possible in the way that I was presenting it?
Are we still on the mystery? Is the
Yes,
journey, not the answer?
absolutely, absolutely. In my mind.
And so what is my model of the mystery?
No, that was no. because you've already answered.
I'm not trying to loop on purpose, Sam. I
No,
promise you.
I get it. You're asking the right questions to delve into the mapping and the meaning, okay? Which is why this is interesting. And this is, by the way, something that I rarely do with Barry. I can do it if I force it, but you do this more naturally.
Yeah, well, to me, everything is a mystery. I don't think I know anything. I literally do not attach myself to any knowledge or gnosis that I've ever received due to the fact that it always changes over time. So the more I attach to it, the less flexible I am. The less flexible I am, the less I can create a model that can get out of that mystery.
Okay.
So I try not to attach too much to knowledge.
Can I push your button a little bit?
Please.
That sounds to me like you're attached to not being attached.
That's a great button push, but if you take it one step further, again, after the attached to not being attached, then you can allow for the flexibility. So no, I also try not to be attached to being not attached as well, on top of that. But I think that's a great point. You can get attached to not being attached, which can also be dangerous.
I'm a better Buddhist than you are.
Exactly. I've hung around with Buddhists that actually say these things. I've literally spent hours and hours in Buddhist monasteries with like Rinpoches that are so wise that they're saying that they're not attached to not being attached, and they're so Zen that they're not Zen, but then they're Zen, but then they're not Zen.
And monks who have sex.
I've never met an actual monk that has taken those vows and then actually had sex, but maybe they did and they didn't tell me.
Or maybe I've watched too many movies.
Yeah. Real monks are actually kind of like somewhere between repressed and enlightenment, in my opinion, in my experience.
So Barry, has this completely bored you?
Well, it's not so much that it's bored me, but it has flooded me with more information than I can digest and process in real time. So I'm not.
You're not bored, or you're not processing?
I'm not processing because it's coming at me faster than I can process in real time. I'm a very slow information processor.
But you're very quick to respond.
Well, if I see a question, I can give a response based on the question without trying to parse the context and why the person asked it or any other contextual constraints that explain why it's there. You can answer a question without knowing why it was asked. And often I don't know why it's asked. Most of the time, in fact.
To me, the most interesting questions are the ones when you understand the why.
Understand what?
The why.
Why they're being asked.
Most of the time, I mean, normally the default is because they want to know the answer. That's the why. If it's not the reason, then I generally don't have a clue what the reason is.
That's well said.
Could I give you a clue? Okay, I won't. Sam Chan, has this bored you?
No, I'm just listening. I mean, just taking in your perspective. I'll share a few things for you. Number one, I have a master in neuro-linguistic programming for about 30 years. So modeling is, we live by modeling. You know, the thing is, there's an outcome we look for. What's the reason? The reason we are doing modeling in the NLP is because we're looking for an outcome that's, you know, desired outcome is what we call it. So I know a lot about modeling. That's how my brain works, you know. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to make sure you guys get is that, you know, the response from a person like anybody at all is based on their well, think of it like if you ask someone what color is it, and this person happened to be a colorblind, we can only give you what colorblind perspective. So when a person tell you that I can see 5 things or 3 things or 2 things that you see, because that's the language they have, they are familiar with it and they can recognize it. So another way of saying is that if you can speak Hindi, only the Hindi person can respond to you. The other person respond is gibberish, because the person that can speak Hindi will recognize the words and be able to understand it and all that stuff. So when you talk to someone, just keep in mind that they can only respond to you, the language, the knowledge, the modeling, whatever you call it, they can respond. It's nothing to do with you. It's just because they see it, So for example, when I met my wife, coming from Malaysia, I speak fast, I speak loud. And to her, it's like you're fighting with me, you're arguing with me, like that. So it's like, okay, I need to learn how to slow down and speak softly. So then after many years of training, 39 years of training, so I got almost getting there, So but when I get excited, I forgot. I go back to my native mode, so but for her that's a different model operating, So the other thing is about modeling is it changes not only by time, it changes by the environment, it changes by the condition you're in, you get threatened. The key is all tied to survival. And I love the way you say that mathematics is a relationship language. So is modeling, so is, language, so is music, so is everything that we do in life is relationship. Tell me one thing that's not relationship,
There you go.
The absence of relationship is one thing that's not a relationship.
There's a relationship there.
That's
Say
right.
again?
There's a relationship there.
There is?
The
Well,
absence of relationship is one thing that sign a relationship. Again, that's what I love about humanity, because we are so imperfect that we need each other so to perfect us. So I'm not saying that you complete me. I'm not interested in that. I'm just more saying like, without you, life would be so boring. That's what I would say. So I welcome argument. I welcome fighting. I welcome wars. I welcome crime. I welcome everything because we don't have a choice, if you get to the language of that, it happens because it needs to happen. It's like releasing of the kidnapper and all that stuff. It happens when it needs to happen, because we only make decision the way that we know how to make decision. Our ultimate goal is survival.
isn't Bohemian dialogue an option?
Not everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, a lot of people have no relationship to Bohemian dialogue because it's an undefined concept. It's an unknown, unrecognized, unappreciated concept. And I run into people who believe or act as if every conversation is a debate or an argument, and,
Yep.
and that the concept of a Bohemian dialogue simply is a non-existent option.
Can I ask you, Barry, Bohemian dialogue is related to David Bohm, or what?
Yeah,
what are we
that's named
talking-
after him. He's the one who proposed the concept and gave some examples. I think he's got a famous example of a Bohemian dialogue in the literature. The tragedy is that it never took root, and very often his correspondents would not engage in Bohemian dialogue, but would transform it into an argument or a debate. And eventually, and this is kind of speculation, he threw up his hands and emigrated to South America and abandoned his presence in American culture.
I remember the book he had called The Ending of Time, which was a dialogue between him and Krishnamurti.
That's the one. That's the one where it really was a Bohemian dialogue, and they didn't argue and debate and have an antagonistic relationship. But very often he found himself in an antagonistic relationship instead of a conversational one. And I think that happened enough that he threw up his hands and said, I'm getting out of this culture, and moved to South America.
Do you remember the example that he gave? I would love to be able to get deeper into this.
The example of which?
of the Bohemian dialogue.
That's the one that Joshua just mentioned, the book.
Okay, you have to read the book to understand the whole conversation.
Yeah.
You can
I
get
mean,
it in a PDF for free online.
Got it.
It's the one extensive example of a sustained Bohemian dialogue.
Under what condition that will qualify that as a, I would say, yeah, under what condition? I'm trying to construct that model, if I may.
Mutual consent. By mutual consent, two parties can engage in a jointly constructive dialogue, but it's uncommon in our culture. That's the sad part. It's uncommon.
Mutual
Well,
consent. Be
Right.
more specific about when you have a mutual consent, what does that mean?
It means that both parties are agreeing to engage in a non-combative, non-argumentative joint discussion to arrive at insights and ground truths that neither of them had to begin with.
When you have a team of surgeons operating on somebody's brain or something, with all the discussion happening, non-argumentative and
It's not a
non-combative.
dialogue, that's an intervention.
It's a dialogue to me because you're trying to accomplish things as a teamwork together.
Well, but the other person's unconscious, so it's
No, you're not talking to the other person. I'm talking about among the surgeons.
among the surgeons.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a team. Yeah, that's a teamwork operation, unless it goes off the rails, which it sometimes does. But generally, that's a teamwork process.
A teamwork conversation is still a conversation, isn't it?
Well, except that they're all playing roles that are predefined. So
And
if you have two actors on a stage that are going through a script, they're reciting their lines, but they're not generating their lines in real time. They're simply reciting lines that have been previously written by an author other than themselves.
But surgeon doesn't have the pre-written script, right?
Well, in a sense, the procedure there is a kind of a standard procedure in medicine, and they stick pretty close to the procedure, and they don't ad lib. It's
The reason I bring this up is because you have a common goal. Once you have a common goal, you're aligned with the common goal. Your motivation is purely achieve the common goal. Then there's no such thing as combative discussion. It's one.
But the two choices are: you have a common goal and you all know the method to achieve it, and you have a common goal, but you haven't yet discovered a common method to achieve it. So in a conversation, you're looking for a method to agree upon, and in a procedure where you already have an existing method, in the literature, you're simply abiding by the method in your joint roles, your joint and several roles. So are you creating the method, or are you enacting the method that already exists?
But because the common goal is so compelling that there's no room or no reason to have a competitive,
Only if the method is revealing itself to be failing. Now, if the method is not yielding the expected outcome, that the method is manifestly failing, then the surgeons have to figure out, they have to ad lib. But most of the time they're not ad libbing because the outcome is as expected, as foreseen.
Well, my perspective, if I may, looking up a little bit, is that when you are in the abundant, meaning that your survival is not threatened versus a survival mode, like for example in China, whatever that country is a survival mode in the war zone, where the combative will be much easier because your survival is being threatened. So the combative conversation in a survival mode society will be much higher, have a higher rate of that. You get into that.
Yeah, if you have a non-zero probability of failure, then you're going to do a lot more ad libbing. If the likelihood of failure is essentially vanishingly small, the procedure is virtually guaranteed to work, and in fact has always worked in the past and is expected to work every time, and no likelihood of failure, then you simply, you're running the method. It's when there's a non-zero probability of failure. So in war, there's a very high likelihood of failure, that the tactic isn't going to work. And so you have to ad lib. What do they say? The first fatality of war is what? How does that saying go? I can't remember the exact quote. But the first fatality of war is that it doesn't happen the way you're planned. That the plan is the first thing to fail. Who can remember the quote? I'm trying to remember the exact quote.
I think I know what you're trying to say, but I don't remember the quote.
Yeah.
Is it
But one like,
go
go ahead, Sam.
planning is essential, but any single plan is not?
Well, that's a paraphrase. There's an actual quote that the first thing that to go in a war is the original plan. The original plan is basically out the window practically before it's even
I
begun.
think that's Douglas MacArthur, isn't it? He says, yeah,
Yeah,
planning is
you can
essential, but any
you can
given
look it up.
plan is not.
Yeah. But it's something about, your plans basically, you have all this planning for war, and the first thing that dies is the plan.
What's the ultimate plan? Do you guys know what that's called here in the US?
The ultimate plan?
Yeah.
Oh, if that's a reference to literature, then I don't know.
No, SIOP. Have you guys heard that term? The PSYOP?
SIOP. Give me the first word.
Single.
SI, single.
Let me double check that.
Any acronym that spells psyop, I'm out of.
PSYOP. I'm not recognizing the acronym. There's single point of failure. I know that one, but that's not the one you have in mind.
No.
Well-
Wow, it's amazingly hard to find.
Well, maybe
Before you
There we
get
go.
that,
There we
Sam,
go. There we go. There we go.
Okay.
I found it. It's a term that used by the U.S. War Department, and it's been in use for decades. It's called the Single Integrated Operational Plan.
Well, that's like a word. That's like a pronoun that has no antecedent.
It's basically the output of all of their war gaming. In other words,
not
if
a
this
fan of
happens,
military
what do we need to
intelligence.
do?
Which is an oxymoron, right?
Actually, the military handles intelligence quite well. You'd be surprised.
Oh, I'm aware of how they handle it and how well they handle it. It
just-
always gets to the end, which starts right back at the beginning. It loops right back around.
Well, I mean, you can look at examples where military intelligence misled the decision maker into making a really dumb decision. The classical one, I think, is the weapons of mass destruction.
Anyway,
in
this
Iraq,
is a
which-
digression on the word plan.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to Barry said Bohemian dialogue, but he didn't tell us the rules of, you said the rule was, is it yes and like improvisation, or what is the rule to make sure there's no combative so we don't become
Let
combative?
me go back to see if I can find if I wrote something on Bohemian dialogue.
If you
rather
look
than
3 minutes ago,
regenerated from
I put
hazy
what
memory.
Bard believes are the core principles of Bohemian dialogue.
Let me look.
Just for the record, it says suspending judgment, active listening, exploring assumptions, identifying shared meaning, embracing silence.
Yep.
I did write
Beautiful.
something on it, but it doesn't really answer Josh's question, but I'll put it in anyway simply because it's germane. It's sort of a demonstration of why it's so bloody hard to engage in and stay in Bohemian dialogue.
But do you get?
Well, I think,
Sorry.
yeah, Bard just, I think Bard nailed it for me. I'm happy with that definition. That makes perfect. That sounds like what we've been trying to do here at GCC for years.
What did Bard say? Recite it back.
Read
Be amazing.
4 minutes ago. 4 minutes ago, I put it in the chat transcript, Barry.
Oh, it's in the chat. Let me find it. Oh, that's that long thing. Okay, that takes forever to read. Core principles. Yeah, suspending judgment, active listening. Yeah, exploring assumptions. Yeah, identifying shared meaning, embracing silence. Yeah, yeah. There's a funky philosophy from the Greek philosopher. There's a Greek philosopher named Pyrrhos, Pyrrhos, and it's a philosophy of skepticism. And his philosophy of skepticism is 3 stages. The first stage, and these are all Greek terms, the first stage is aporia, which is confusion and befuddlement and discombobulation, when you're just completely swamped by competing concepts that you can't sort out. And then the second stage is called eposh, which is suspending judgment and just letting it all settle out, because you can't process it. You're going to let it, let it lie and settle down. And then the last stage, which you almost never get to, is called ataraxia, which is let it be, serenity, that we're never going to resolve this. Let's just not get too hepped up about it and just live with it and peaceably live with it. So the embracing silence is the middle of those 3. It's eposh. It's complicated, it's messy, it's incomprehensible. We're not going to sort it out. Let's just stop trying to make sense of it and just let it be, and quietly let it resolve itself and see what settles out. So, and that's an aspect of it. Let's just let this sit let's sleep on it. Let's not figure this out today. We're in overload. Let's just let it be for now. And then eventually let's let it be forever instead of for now. That's ataraxia. Let's just be serene and live with chaos. Chaos, you're not going to fix chaos, so let's just be serene about it and realize that we're going to live in a chaotic culture.
What are you putting, Sam Chan? I saw Chat GPT.
Coming up. This
Oh, here it is.
I like the version better. And just to let you know, I always check myself against that list to see if I'm missing any of them.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Bohemian dialogue, but I'm also chagrined how rare it is to engage in it, that most people will devolve into argumentation and debate and antagonistic responses instead of Bohemian dialogue. And the result is nobody learns anything.
Right.
Yeah. And that's frustrating to me in conversations.
In fact, I just had one this morning. I just finished a long comment thread with a guy who basically was taking a contrary position, that no matter what I said, he would dismiss it as baloney or irrelevant or nonsense or incomprehensible or unresponsive. And it didn't matter what I said, everything, he basically dismissed everything. He had disdain for everything. And once that became the apparent pattern, that was an ineluctable pattern, then we realized that this was not a conversation. This was a fruitless encounter. And after that became clear, he blocked me, meaning that I could no longer see, it turned it into Swiss cheese. I could no longer see the transcript. I'd only see my responses.
Sounds like a conversation between the lion and the donkey.
I don't know that reference, but I can imagine.
The joke goes as follows, okay? Donkey and the lion are saying, what color is the sky? And the donkey saying, the sky's green. And the lion saying, no, the sky is blue. And they go at this, no, it's green. No, it's blue. No, it's green. So they both decide to go to the wise old man and say, hey, what color is the sky? And the donkey says, it's green. And the wise old man says, it's green. And donkey goes happily scampering off. But the lion says to the wise man, it's obviously blue. Why are you telling him it's green? He says, you're the stupid one for arguing with an ass.
That has a different punchline than the one I was thinking you were going to give us. But
But I think you're bringing up a really good point of why do we argue?
The short answer is dopamine high.
There's an answer.
Yeah, there's an answer. And the reason I say that is that whenever I've found myself in an argument, I go, why is this an argument? The answer keeps coming back. The guy's getting a thrill out of
Barry.
it.
Barry,
What?
what's the mystery?
The mystery is, how do you get out of that paradigm? That's the mystery I can't solve. I can see the paradigm. The guy's getting a thrill out of being argumentative and contrary. And the mystery is, how do you turn this into an educational experience, an enlightening experience? The answer is, I haven't a clue. So far.
How about embracing silence?
Well, that's the end is, let's just continue this conversation because it's going nowhere.
No. Embracing silence is a way to lean in.
Well, yeah, in fact, one of my responses was the one word mu, M-U. Of course, he didn't know what that was, which didn't surprise me, but.
Why don't we check the list of the 8 things I posted on from ChatGPT about Boolean conversation to see what of the rules that is met and which one we miss, so which one we could learn from, which one we can align ourselves so that we can have a wonderful Boolean conversation time and time again as we learn how to do it.
Let me just check something. I want to see if any of you guys can read this conversation.
Wait, Barry, did you hear Sam's question or proposal?
Not yet. I got distracted.
There's the answer, Barry.
I'm easily distracted. Because here's the problem. I can only process one mystery at a time. So if I got a mystery on mine and another mystery comes along, it goes on the push down stack.
So is the mystery slot open at this moment that I can slide in the mystery that
I'll tell you when I pop the one that's bothering me first.
Yeah, how many registers does Barry have?
I know the problem is I have a push down stack that's only one deep. The answer is none of you guys can read this thread because none of you guys are a Facebook friend of the person who started the thread. So the answer is I can't direct you to it because you won't be able to read it. All right. So that mystery is unresolvable because none of you guys can weigh in on it.
you can do a print screen and share it with the group.
It's too long. It's
You can't
55.
tag us and then we see it. I don't know how Facebook.
Problem is that you're not a friend with the guy who owns the conversation. So you can't conversate.
You can print it to a PDF file and attach it to the conversation.
Theoretically, but that would take me like 10 minutes to.
Yeah, I understand. But you can do it when you get a chance.
Facebook doesn't make it easy to save a long thread. You gotta stand on your head to save something on Facebook. It's a pain.
And since
So, all right, so I'm going to set that. That's an unsolvable mystery because I resolved that none of you guys can see it. So now I pop that off the stack as unresolved. And what's the next mystery?
Sam just made a proposal about 3 or 4 minutes ago.
Is it in writing? Because I don't have a tape recorder.
Okay, let me repeat it. My proposal is that as we talk, and there's a list of 8 things that we need to meet the conditions so that it will have a Bowman conversation quality, shall I say. And if that's what we're looking to learn how to do, be the example of the practicing as a group, I think we hold ourselves at a high standard so we can have time and time again, all the time we have Bowman conversation, quality conversation. It will be set a lot of good example out there for people to learn from us. So as we speak, can we check the list again and again and again until we really get it down so that we get 100% check that we meet all the requirements that the 8 conditions that was proposed or listed by ChatGPT about Bowman conversation?
Yeah, you have a metric. Sam recited the metric either today or yesterday, which is how many views these things are getting over time. And the answer is If you're lucky, 2 or 3 dozen. On the best, no, you're shaking your head
So I'm
no.
saying that doesn't directly respond to what Sam was proposing.
I know, but there's a metric. I said there's a metric.
There's a
If we were
feedback.
if we were doing high quality Bohemian dialogues, consistently high quality Bohemian dialogues, we would have a huge audience. We don't.
I don't think
We
so.
have a nil audience.
No, I think if we had really, really entertaining, stupid, shallow dialogue, we would have a huge audience.
I think that'd get old fast.
Doesn't. You know it doesn't.
Well, I mean, people do like, but the thing is, even comedy is very well written. I mean, the stupid arguments they have in comedic sketches are not stupid arguments. They're cleverly constructed to be entertaining. A lot of stupid arguments are not entertaining. They're just dull and boring and banal.
So, if I may respond to Sam, okay?
Yeah.
How we do this would be very curious because this is the kind of feedback that people are not used to getting. In other words, let's just take one of these principles, emergence of collective insight.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Exactly. Have we been trying to do that? How do we practice that? How do we measure it? How do we know we get there? How do we know we're being distracted from it? Okay. Another one, non-judgmental engagement or listening for understanding or, respect for silence, we don't often take pauses in these conversations.
You want to up the ante, so you can say in the beginning of all the Zoom call from now on, we have a statement. We say, dear audience, whoever that listen to this YouTube video, would you please do me a favor? Listen to the conversation as much as you want and grade us on the Bohemian dialogue quality that we have.
That is exactly the reason these records exist, is because from a collaborological standpoint, I've been intending to do that ever since day one. However,
So now we declare and we put in the beginner statement. And when
We
we
also-
post video and we post a video, we put it in writing, black and white, invite people to do that.
Also
love it.
have to have a measurement, a metric. If you don't have a metric,
hey, let other people come up with those metrics. Let them figure out how to give us that feedback.
well, I'm going to contribute a metric because I'm one of the other people who doesn't always participate.
And we also now have AI companion / Bard / Lacuna / Llama 2 / GPT-4 / whatever that can also provide us that feedback. So I'm pretty optimistic that will happen.
But in my lifetime, because I'm 79.
Oh, it'll happen by next year. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think the probability of getting to convergence is dwindling.
Conversion?
Convergence.
Oh, convergence.
Probability of getting to convergence. What was that? Shared insight? Was that the term? Collective insight? Probability of getting to collective insight, I think the probability is dwindling.
Yeah, emergence of collective insight and comes along with this emphasis on learning.
Right. And one of the things that I can measure or at least estimate is whether learning is taking place. I can estimate if emotional thrill, like dopamine highs, are taking place without learning. That happens quite frequently. But if learning is taking place, you get endorphin highs. I don't see endorphin highs. I see dopamine highs.
Are you talking about just personally?
Talking about what?
Just from a personal experience?
The only experience I have is experience that impinged on me. I don't have anybody else's experience. But I've seen it in cultures like the Wikisphere culture, where you see people getting a dopamine thrill out of being contrary and disruptive and rat fucking the system. You see that a lot. And you go, nobody's learning anything here, which is pretty obvious, but people are somehow getting an emotional thrill out of rat fucking the system. Chris Langan and Kurt J. I don't think I know who those people are.
Kurt Jaimunger.
Well, even with his last name, I still don't know who he is.
Yes, Sam.
I'm going to go back to your proposal. I would love to do that. How do we do that as we converse? How do we do this in real time?
Again, all you do is beginning of the recording, we declare that in verbal language and we agree to it. And I say, I support this, I agree with this.
Oh, okay.
And then
So
in
kind of a
writing,
check-in.
and no, in writing, when you post a video, declare that statement as well. Post it this is what we practice here. And catch me when I'm not doing it.
Okay.
I can give you an example by comparison. Jerry Mikulski also has a weekly or more than one weekly Zoom session in which that is the obvious objective, to come to collective insight. And one could look at Jerry's Zoom sessions, which are also up on YouTube, versus ours, and see whether or not you can detect a measurable difference between the bottom line of theirs versus the bottom line of ours.
Yep. I'm betting you can.
I'm gonna predict without, because I haven't participated in his on kind of, I got a conflict on the day he does them. But I would predict that you could find an objective measurement to show that collective insight is much more commonplace on Jerry's calls than ours.
I'm completely okay with that.
I mean, I've spent time, both in your world and Jerry's world. I've spent time in both worlds, and my observation is that I'm finding more collective insight in Jerry's world, or have. I mean, I haven't been in it for a couple of years because of a conflict between when he does his and when I'm available.
And then we have a system in place that we can print out the what do you call that? The X thing, and then when you think of it like a soccer game, right? You have a red flag goes up when somebody violating the rule.
In fact, here's you can ask.
Yellow and red.
Eric Rangel participates in both. Eric Rangel participates regularly in Jerry's calls on Thursday, and he participates not every time, but a comparable amount of time here. You could ask Eric whether or not he thinks that which of these calls generates more collective insight. And I would predict that if he's candid, he'll say Jerry's calls generate more collective insight. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, maybe we can define collective insight a little bit or dive deeper into that.
How often do you say, aha, now I understand? I don't know that I've ever said, aha, now I understand here.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
I have said that with other correspondents, but I don't recall ever having said that in any of these calls. Aha, now I understand.
Aha, now I understand why you haven't said aha, now I understand. No, I think getting to a place where there's an objective, I think we got to these protocols. This is what we've been talking about for months now, is getting a protocol. So we're putting in these rules that are loose enough to be protocols, not just rules.
Agile.
Because, yeah, it's agile because it's subjective.
They're guidelines, and they don't have an or else clause attached to
Yep.
them, where the or else clause implies a sanction.
Yeah,
I mean,
well done.
dialogue, you don't have or else clauses.
So I say well done to everybody, because this is sounds in alignment to me with what the goals are here.
I'll give you a real-time example of a protocol. Everybody the the 4 people I see, 3 people have a very good audio volume, except Sam is soft. Sam could bring up his audio control and turn up his microphone gain a notch or 2, and then they would all be equal, and I could hear everybody at the same audio volume. That's a protocol.
It's a good ask.
Are you talking about me or Sam Chan?
Sam Hahn. And if you had a VU meter, which unfortunately Zoom doesn't seem to have, you would have noticed that Sam's down about, I don't know, 3 dB from everybody else.
Testing,
there is an
testing. How is this level?
A
So
little louder, slightly louder.
Testing. How is this level?
Better.
yeah, now they're more equal. So I don't have to turn up my speaker when Sam talks and turn it back down when somebody else talks. And those kinds of distractions basically interfere with the ability to process.
Every little thing helps.
Yeah. I mean, I will admit that I easily get distracted by things that other people wouldn't notice. And if I get too distracted, I'm not processing. I mean, I got too many things impinging on my senses at the same time.
Well, just to go back to the reason I pointed out that conversation between Chris Langan, who supposedly has a 200 IQ, and Kurt Jaimunger, who runs a podcast called The Theory of Everything. So he's constantly interviewing many, many people. Is most of the conversations I see are not diving deep into understanding. And I think in that conversation, which happens to be a 4-hour long conversation, it's Kurt Jaimunger trying to dive into the understanding of a person's theory of everything, that he's coined a phrase and has come up with his own theory of everything.
So he
And
actually has a theory of everything with content, not just a label that's got an empty jar.
it's got content, and he's diving into each bullet point of that content. How did you derive at this understanding? How did you derive at this understanding? Okay, so given this as a principle that we both agree on, and then there's a time where the gentleman says, well, wait a second, let's stop and identify, do we both agree that this person's theory and this law is understood in the same way? So then they dive into the understanding of that agreement, and then he explains how he derived his understanding. And does that make sense? Did I lose anyone?
Is Chris Langham a guy who is or was at MIT?
I'm not sure his background. I was quite.
It
I
sounds
was.
like something I've come across. There was a guy at MIT, but I didn't remember his name. But it sounds like you're talking about him.
It could be, if you want to look him up online. I don't know. He has the greatest reputation in the science world. He has published papers. He's been dismissed as a quack. That's what they said in the beginning of the conversation. But at the same time, when I listened to him speak, he was quite intelligent. Like, I understood what he was saying. It was clear to me. I didn't find any quackery, as I just found that he was actually going deeper into questions that most people don't dive deep into.
No, I was just dismissed as a pseudoscientific cult, one-person pseudoscientific cult.
Yeah, it's easy to dismiss people. It's harder to dive into their logic and reasoning and thinking, which is why I appreciated Sam Hahn's question of the mystery, how we go about attacking the mystery, not the answers we get, but the actual showing your work of how you went about solving the mystery, the deduction, or however different forms of solving a problem. That model that you use, to me, it's the old saying, the map is not the territory.
Yeah.
I believe the territory is the map.
If you're the architect, if you're the construction worker, if you're the bridge
Yeah.
builder.
Or if you're the ancient archaeologist trying to understand why people in olden days did something, you have to look at what geographical area were they living in. Like, what were they seeing when they woke up in the morning? What mountaintops were they seeing? What shadows were going on the valley, and how were they perceiving life? What was their understanding of reality at that time? Which is very different than our understanding of reality at this time.
Barry, I have a suggestion for you if you want to try this about the digestion of the rate of your digestion input is overflow and your stack is only one level deep. The problem solving technique with using technology is that you turn on the closed caption and show the full caption, and then as you scroll up, you can just do a print screen, a snapshot of that conversation that you are interested in digesting.
Yeah, I'm running way behind real time. Way behind real time.
No, you can scroll down on the right hand side. There's a scroll down button, bar that you can grab and scroll all the way down.
And I'm not reading the stuff. If I'm reading the stuff, I'm reading much, much slower than the rate at which people are
No,
speaking.
okay, there are two different things we're talking about. Okay, you have real time transcript, right? So if there's a sentence that, for example, someone said that, can you go back to something I just said 2 minutes ago? You can scroll back to the 2 minute conversation and capture that phrase or the sentence or the chunk of the text that it was transcribed. You can read it and digest it and pause the conversation. Say, okay, just give me a 2 minute to read that sentence so I can digest it in the way that I need to be digested before I can have a meaningful conversation.
Yeah, which means I don't participate in real time.
There's nothing wrong with participating in real time or not. It's not important. The important thing is that unless we go through the things that we need to go through, we miss. It's like missing a station. We rather slow down and not miss the station or miss the station, and then it's like, okay, now what?
I mean, oftentimes in these, not necessarily in this particular set, but sometimes when it's my turn to speak, I will loop back to something that was said 20 minutes ago and respond to that.
That's fine.
And the other stuff in the meantime, I haven't even processed yet.
I agree. I'm just saying that there's a way that you can do this if you want the real time. So let's say you talked about 20 minutes ago, right? And then you want to catch up to the 5 minutes ago. You have a way to.
It's going faster than I can catch.
I understand. I
The
understand.
ball is traveling faster than I can run to catch it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some things that I think about is like, okay, when I go shower tomorrow, I'll just about, oh, the conversation, I should have said this, but that's fine.
Yeah. But that's one of the reasons that traditionally I have relied on text communication, which is asynchronous versus spoken, which is because synchronous communication, I can't process that. I can't process audio as fast as it's coming at me.
Got it. Okay. So in that case,
process text because I can go back and spend 5 minutes reading a paragraph until I get what's being said.
In that case, the Facebook Messenger is a greater tool for you in order to resolve any big issue or whatever.
Most of the time in the internet, it was text. It's only recently that we got to real-time audio. That's pretty recent in the internet, real-time audio.
Yes, Sam.
I'm going to try a new model / system. Okay. And I've observed this actually many times throughout these 7 years, is that when someone says pay attention, and I'm paying rapt attention, then just like Barry was doing, he could be playing around with an idea that was said 5 minutes ago because it has such rich implications. It has rich inferences, associations, insights that I therefore miss what's said in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Okay. Now, have I not been paying attention? No, I paid rapt attention to that really interesting idea. As another counterexample, if I'm really following each step of a conversation or a lecture or a course or everything, I don't give myself the time to say, oh, that idea expands to that idea and connects with that other one, because I'm really trying to follow the simple progression of the presenter. So that's another way to pay rapt attention. So when someone says, oh, I got distracted because I'm on this idea that was stated 3 minutes ago, is that being distracted or is that really focusing on the material? I say there could be cases of both. Okay. And so this is why I don't often align when teachers, for example, say, "Pay attention. You got to be, recite for me what I just said, in the last 3 sentences." That's not necessarily going to give you a deep appreciation for the material. There's a lot of ways to engage with material, and there's very simple and very shallow indicators of whether someone is paying attention or not. I just wanted to throw that in there.
I'll tell you a story. 40 years ago, I had a relationship with a gentleman who was a retired department head at Bell Labs. He was the very first psychologist they ever hired. They hired him when I was 3 years old. And one time I was having a conversation with him in his house, and he stopped and he said, "Give me a minute to think about the last thing you just said." And he said, "No, give me 30 minutes to think about the last thing you just said." That was a really important piece of feedback, because before that, it hadn't occurred to me that I was saying things that somebody needed a lot more time to think about than I was expecting them to need. Here's a guy who's a PhD in psychology, brilliant guy. And he says, "I need 30 minutes to think about the last sentence you just said."
Thank you. I'm just reading something. All I'm saying is that there is a tool in technology now that allow you to do it whichever way you want.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, it's text. And I'm a big fan of text, because when people write text, they have to be more careful about articulating what they're saying. And I try to write text as concisely as I can, which means it's dense. So if somebody's going to read a sentence or a paragraph that I wrote, chances are they're going to need more time to process it than it takes to scan the words.
Yes, Josh.
Yeah, I'm just going back to a time when I grabbed the domain name conversational technology. And what you just said, Sam Chan, is we have new tools to advance our conversations in ways we've never done before. And embracing that, not just the old ways like Bohemian dialogue, but the ability to create a new approach, a novel, that's the word I'm looking for, the novel approach of conversation in the modern age of these technologies is, to me, the most rich possibility of what's to come, and exciting that we can not only do ourselves better, but we have tools that can enrich conversations in ways that they've never been enriched.
Right.
In vector, and I'm going to use the word vector space because it's more than just 3 vectors. We could have 5 vectors that we never could have had before in conversation.
That's right. I want to make sure that we use this opportunity to remind everybody that at one weekend about a month ago, where Sam and Barry were at each other's throats, the conversations are so important that need to be watched multiple times at different speed, higher speed and lower speed, and 4x the speed, or half the speed or quarter speed. What it does is it will help you to chunk it down, which trigger point it is. And once you catch your trigger points, you can avoid a trigger point in the futures. And that's my invitation.
Yeah, and I also just want to share with you, Barry, I've been thinking about a conversation we had over a year ago, and we had discussed thermodynamics, and I'm still thinking about the things you were telling me about not just thermodynamics, but how that relates to Maxwell's equations. So the laws of thermodynamics and Maxwell's equation of electricity, I'm still thinking about that from over a year ago.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me, because most of the things that I write on the blogs, for example, are things that I think are important enough to put out there for posterity, because people are going to look at them not decades, but years later and process them, but not in real time. I don't expect people to read a blog post the day I wrote it and be done with it. I expect that blog post will sit there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years and continue to be relevant for a long time.
Now that you mentioned that, Barry, what have you ever thought about putting all your blog into a book and publishing as a PDF file?
Yes, people have suggested that, and I've thought about it, but I don't see the point, because all I could do is just give you a document that says, here are the 4 links to my 4 blogs. Go read them.
Well, the reason we have a bookshelf so that we can put a book there from with the name berries on it is
There's
very
no way
different.
you're going to print that stuff on dead trees. It
Why
doesn't
not?
make sense. Well, because I don't want to see all those trees cut down. That's why not.
Well, don't worry about the trees; they'll regrow. We'll
I
plant
mean,
more
if somebody
trees.
wants to print out
On the recycled paper.
a PDF, there's no way that anybody on Amazon is going to buy that much paper.
Well, I'll etch it in stone, Barry.
How about etch it in electrons?
Yeah, we could print it out on atoms. We'll do
Print
it.
it out on a hard drive. It's already on a hard drive.
Yeah.
It's on
But
whatever Google's hard
there's a
drive.
make it convenient so there's one PDF file that has everything in it.
That would be a very long. I don't know. It would be probably. Well, I don't know if it'll be a terabyte.
No, I think it should be
No,
more
it's
than
not that long.
5,000 pages.
I actually don't know. I never actually tried to figure out the total number of gigabytes.
Do a word count. Yeah, do a word count. You could probably put it in the next version of a large language model.
Yeah.
What would really be nice is if I could get a large language model, the top level URLs of my 4 or 5 blogs, and say digest all of this stuff.
Okay.
You can. They have that in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
They have
I
those.
don't think ChatGPT can read Facebook.
It has plugins that can read URLs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not Facebook.
Well, we can take it off of Facebook. We can, you know what you can do with Facebook, not to get too nerdy or technical, but you can download
Yeah.
off of Facebook in a JSON file.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've
7 or
actually
8 zip
done that.
files.
I think
Yep.
I may have done that. I'm not sure, but what would be nice is if I could simply say Molten Lava blog, WordPress blog, meet my stuff on medium.com, my stuff on sites.google.com, and stuff on my own personal websites here in the house. Digest all that and whatever you do with it. But I don't think I can do that yet.
Okay. So, since we're about 12 or 13 minutes to the top of the hour, I'd like to pose a question to Barry, but ask him to not respond. Is that okay?
Until the next conversation.
Yes. My question to you, Barry, is why did I start with a question that I posed?
The one from Keezy?
Yes.
Oh, I have no clue why you did it.
That's
maybe
the immediate response. That's the immediate response.
He's asking you not to respond, so don't respond, Barry. Don't
Because
fall
I don't
into the
know.
trap.
I don't know why you did it. And I probably never will know unless you tell me.
No. That's
I mean,
not the only way.
Theories of mind. I suck at theories of mind. I absolutely suck at theories of mind.
That's a story you tell yourself, Barry.
Well, because it's true.
That's another story you tell yourself.
Wait, before you guys go into argument, I'm gonna bow out if it's going in that direction.
I have copious evidence that I suck at theories of mind. Copious evidence.
Okay. ... Ergo, it's true.
Well, it's very probabilistically true that if I generate a theory of mind, you won't concur with it. Probabilistically, very few people ever concur with the theory of mind that I posit. It's just very uncommon.
All right, let me ask.
It would be a machaya if it ever happened. You know machaya? It's a Yiddish word. Wonderful thing. This machaya never happens to me. It's an observation. I'm 79 years old. I suck at theories of mind. Sorry. Maybe it goes with being autistic or Asperger's or whatever. I don't know. It's one theory. It's a feature of being Asperger's.
Is it an aspect of yourself where you're willing to reconsider?
What do you think I wrote that whole theory of emotions and learning for?
Then why do you think it's all compiled in and static now?
Because it's a theory that I don't know how to reduce to practice. I got the best theory award. I just don't have the best practice award.
How do you know when you got it down to reduce the practice?
When people concur that my theory of mind is right on the money, which simply doesn't happen.
I think you're looking for something that's not there, and even if it were there, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Well, people will tell me, yeah, you've nailed it. But people don't say, yeah, you've nailed it. They say, you're full of shit, Barry. You're full of crap. They'll tell me that either it's incomprehensible, it doesn't make sense, you're wrong, you're a cult, you're what? Go ahead, Joshua.
Oh, I was just saying maybe to help, if we took your theories of effective computing and mathematics of effective states and had the better tools to measure it, so like a heat map that could measure effective states, that would help to see if your theory could be put into practice.
Well, yeah, there are synthetic devices that can take sensory data, tell if you're about to have an epileptic seizure or a heart attack or a cortisol surge, and say, oh, Barry's having a cortisol surge right now. Here's the data. Here's the meter.
Yep.
And it takes me a while to say I appear to be having a cortisol surge. By the time I say that, it's over and done with.
But I'm just saying, if you were hooked up to a machine that could analyze both your voice, the blood flow in your face,
Yeah.
the chemicals in your body,
Yeah.
the MRI functioning of your brain, and then we put that to the mathematical principles of your theory, it'd be nice
Yeah.
to see if there was a convergence.
Well, the answer for that is they've done that in Empatica company, the company that Ross Picard founded. She's got these wearables that actually do that and can detect the onset of, for example, of an epileptic seizure or some other abnormal condition and sound an alarm before any human observer would even be aware that it's happening.
Yeah.
Actually save people's lives, people who have epilepsy. This thing can detect the onset of an epileptic seizure minutes in advance of any human noticing that it's already happened, and then intervene and save lives.
And these are the kind of tools that I would like to involve in conversations over on the right side of the screen to be able to help people have better conversations, like moderation tools that are not human, that are
If there was a thing
artificial.
on my forehead that said, what's my blood pressure, what's my pulse rate, what's my cortisol level, if you had that, I would be happy to have it. I just don't have it. Sorry.
Yeah.
What is that? Muse 2. What is that? I don't know what that is. What is
Google
Muse?
it. Google it.
Okay, I'll Google it.
What's this? I can't read the subtitle. The subtitle is the brain sensing headband. Oh, but it's not clear what it doesn't say what parameters are being sensed.
That's why I want you to Google it so you can get more information out of it.
Is that a real one? Have you worn it?
Yeah, of course.
Can you put it on now?
Not right this
We've
minute.
only got 6 minutes left.
Basically, it's a device that senses if you are in the meditation calm state or you are in the, so it measure you, and then when it will give you a signal that when you are off and when you're on meditation state. So you Google it. It's not very expensive.
I'll give an example. Can you tell if I'm clenching my teeth?
I can hear from your voice, so I don't have to see.
The thing is that after I've been clenching my teeth for half an hour, I then feel the pain in my jaw. I say, oh, I must have been clenching my teeth for the past 30 minutes.
If you listen to yourself carefully, if you record yourself carefully, you can hear the voice when you are clenching your teeth and versus not, because you speak differently.
You can hear, I don't detect it.
I hear it.
What I detect is the physical pain afterwards.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear the voice.
Yeah.
When you speak nice and smoothly without clenching your teeth, it's nice and smooth rhythm.
Josh has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to share the aspects of these disciplines like meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, the understanding of the different senses in your body and how to detect them, it's a real lifelong skill that can go as deep as you want to go, all the way to the word yoga, meaning the union with God. So to understand what senses are going on in your body without putting on a device like a Muse 2 is something worth looking into, of just being a human on this planet.
Well, that's been a goal of mine. Being an anthropologist for Mars, becoming a human on this planet is one of my unmet goals.
Okay, well, I'm there with you. I'm not sure which planet I'm from, but I don't know if it's Earth.
Another device is the Apple Watch. It can sense a
Yeah.
lot of, like, for example, your heart rate is going up, is you're beating at
Do you have one,
130.
Sam? I think Sam Hahn, you have one. I think.
This
I
is
have
an
the
Apple Watch.
Samsung equivalent. Yeah.
This is the one
Okay.
that Sam sent me. This is an app. I don't know what model it is, but it's the one that Sam
So
sent
we
me.
could play with these as tools to put up metrics on a screen.
Okay. Does that tell you which model it is if I hit that button?
No, basically the one you have is a Model 5, I believe. The one I sent you. Yeah. So anyway, it will detect it when your heart rate is going up to 130 or whatever. You can set the limit to say when I want you to trigger the heartbeat when it's over 120, for example. So I'm sitting still. There's no reason for me heartbeat to go up to 120. And it will vibrate and tells you that calm down, baby.
That's a setting I should be able to find on this thing. If
Yeah. It's
I
in
go-
your Apple Watch apps on your phone. It's
Oh.
easy to do this way. Yeah.
I'll have to find it because this thing has so bloody many
Apps.
features that, and then have these little icons that you have to decode all of these symbols.
Right.
But all those, each of those symbols is some feature, and you have to know which one is which.
Yeah.
A
Anyway,
trick to
all those are
navigating.
technology that to monitor, to alert, and to pre-warn when something good or bad is going to happen. So
I just tried to find the one yesterday that says set an alarm for 5 p.m. and I couldn't figure out which one was the alarm symbol.
A quick trick is just press the Siri button and say, "Open my alarm," or "Open my heart rate monitor."
Open my heart rate monitor.
you just use a keyword.
Do I have to hold the button in?
No, you have to say, "Hey Siri."
Hey Siri, open my heart rate monitor.
I can't help you with that.
I can't help you with that, it said.
Siri doesn't like you.
Usually whenever I get an answer from Siri, which I don't even know what triggers it, it basically either says I can't help you or it says I found a web page. But it got the wrong word anyway. It's responding to a keyword that I never actually said.
Okay, let me chunk it down for you. Hey Siri is a trigger words. And then the command, you need to have a very precise word so that it will trigger the right command for you. So Google the command that need to be said precisely, then use the right command. It's like open the door, close the door. Open and close is two different words. It's a command. Go get the command right, then the trigger will be right.
Oh, it just told me my heart rate is 80.
Right. Okay, good.
Somehow or other it figured out that I said heart rate. So 80 beats per minute, 78 beats per minute.
You're good. You're calm.
76, 102. No, walking average. Oh, walking average 102 beats per minute. Okay. It knows if I
And
was.
just before we go, I just wanted to share ChatGPT put the voice ability for everyone, not just the paid customers. It's very useful.
Sorry, say that again.
They have a feature now that you can just talk to it like Siri
Oh,
for unpaid customers.
oh, that's nice. So I don't have to type it
Yeah.
all in.
Yeah,
Now, if I can just articulate so that it knows what I said.
it's got whisper technology, so it's very good.
Is Whisper a brand name of somebody?
Whisper is a type of voice detection. Algorithms for voice detection that do very good job.
It's not the same as the one they're using here on Zoom.
No.
Better.
The one on Zoom is dicey because on Toastmasters, where we have people for whom English is not their first language, the the speech to text can reveal that it's not getting the words.
All right, my friend, it's 10 o'clock. So,
All right. But before I go, I'll just share with you guys, I'm learning animation to understand physics, because to be a good animator, you have to understand motion and be able to redraw the physical aspects in animation. So I'm learning that skill.
so that to add to that, I'm learning power automation in Microsoft. So I'm going to automate a lot of things that I'll try
What's
to
it called?
power automation.
Power automation. Interesting.
Yeah, so it basically think of a macro that it works on the desktop.
Yeah.
Microsoft product. Yeah.
It's RPA, right?
Yeah, RPA, yeah. Got it. Yeah, so I'm going to spend more time on it and go to automate a few more things. All right,
Very
my
nice.
friend. Take care.
All right,
Bye.
guys. Thanks for
Until
exploring the
next
question
week.
with me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the mystery.
Okay. Bye-bye.